What is going on, everybody? This is another episode of Coordinated Chaos. On this week's episode, we will be recapping what happened in Week 17 of the NFL football season. Then we're going to finish off with a Sunday Night Football preview. And I would like to welcome back my guy, Haj Burkhart. He is back finally from winter break and whatnot, so he's done there. And we're back on the grind to let you guys know about how we feel about these games that happened, specifically in Week 17. So let's go ahead and get into a recap of the Christmas Day games. They were interesting. I don't know if you were able to tune in because obviously there was a lot going on Christmas Day, family stuff. But Chiefs versus Steelers started off there. Chiefs kind of came back on the scene. They're like, it's playoff time. Let's turn the heat back up to like what it should have been. Travis Kelce's like, let me get back in the flow of things. It seems like he's kind of sandbagging all season long, which for fantasy managers were like, thanks, but no thanks. But yeah, the Chiefs really turned it back on. Pat Mahomes had 3 touchdowns, had over 300 yards passing, and it was just a classic Chiefs ball game. Yeah,
the Steelers just have never really been great. Like, they've always been solid.
They've been beating just like okay teams, but they haven't beat anybody substantial other than the Ravens that one time.
Well, like winning by field goals is just never impressive.
Yeah,
like it's cool for your defense, but you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But no, the Chiefs, everyone knows once like it's time to lock in, they're the first team that's locked in.
Yeah.
And as a Chiefs, I enjoy rooting for the Chiefs. It's fun because they're good. But I was glad to see them not have to go to overtime with like a Broncos where you're like, all right, guys.
Yeah. They finally kind of
not
put a game
week
together.
6 anymore. It's time.
Yeah, no, that's not a position that a lot of people are taking these days. Everybody kind of hates the Chiefs because they're like the new version of the Patriots dynasty, and everybody hates the winners.
Yeah.
Which I don't really share that sentiment anymore. Honestly, I grew up hating the Patriots because of like the dynasty and whatnot.
Same.
But like as I grew up and kind of matured and realized how hard it is to do
certain things. You
kind
of appreciate it.
Yeah,
Like, wow.
That's what I'm saying. It's so hard to win in the NFL that at this point I'm like, dude, I would die to have that be the case for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Super Bowls in a row. You're like, man,
that's
Super Bowl's tough.
Crazy impressive.
Yeah.
So, like, I just appreciate greatness at this point. I used to hate Tom Brady. Now I appreciate the way he was and everything about it.
He walked so Mahomes could run.
Yeah, I mean, he showed the blueprint of how to just be like constant pro and professional and just put your hard hat on and go to work every day. So, very impressive win on Christmas there. Steelers, like I said, all season long, I've never really felt like scared of them at any point. Like especially when the Eagles were about to play the Steelers, I was like, I think the Eagles can win this game. I just don't trust that they have enough weapons, like outside of George Pickens in that game against the Eagles. Of course, they were without George Pickens, and it didn't matter to me. I really thought like even with them, it's one guy on their offense that's explosive. Otherwise, it's like Jalen Warren's got some explosive
Harris
elements.
Is decent.
Harris, he's a decent in between the tackles runner, but like it's something you can stop pretty easily.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But yeah, Steelers not looking great, kind of stock down going into the playoffs here. Yeah. Of course, they're sort of playing for seeding going into this weekend against the Browns. I think they're playing. No, who are they playing? I don't know. I think maybe it's the Ravens playing the Browns, and then they're playing somebody else. That's right. It doesn't really matter. Either way, essentially, the Steelers are going to have to try this weekend, so are the Ravens, to essentially figure out who wins the division in this last week of the season. But otherwise, for the most part, the Ravens are going to win it. They're going to both playing at the exact same time on Saturday, so they can't, like, scoreboard really watch the entire time. So.
Well, and the Chiefs, Mahomes isn't going to play.
Yeah, no, they're not playing.
And so, which stinks for me, because I really want the Bengals to make the playoffs.
I do too.
But granted, the Broncos have to beat the Chiefs, but you're like, man, they're not going to get the full force Chiefs.
Yeah, you're not. You're not. So we're relying on the ghost of Carson Wentz to come back and lead the Chiefs to a victory. I don't know if that's going to happen, especially if like most of the starters for the Chiefs are going to be sitting out as well. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tall task to beat a full-blown Broncos roster.
Which needs to win to make the playoffs.
Correct. They're going to be motivated and ready to go. Yeah. So next game, this was the late game on Christmas. It was Ravens versus Texans. We don't have to stay on this very long. It was a complete tail whooping.
Yeah, massacre.
It was bad. The Texans all season long, we've both kind of been down on them.
Yeah.
Not great looks.
Mixon's just tanked in the last like 4 weeks.
He has. I think he got so many carries early on. Maybe it's coming back to bite him a little bit. He has been banged up a few times. Like his ankles have been injured a couple different times during the season. So just Derrick Henry ran all over the Texans defense, and Lamar Jackson was super efficient once again, had a ton of yardage, and he ran for a touchdown. It was just a really impressive game from the Ravens. They're clicking on all cylinders at the right time.
Yeah, they look good, but they're another team that I'm also just not that scared of. In the play. It's like, like they're good, and Henry's good, and Lamar's good, but you're like, they no.
Yeah, I've been telling friends, and this is like off topic, obviously, from this game, but I've been telling friends like for me, it's Chiefs Bills in the AFC Championship game again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly how I see it going, and like at that point, do I bet against Pat Mahomes? Probably not.
No.
It's especially the way the season's gone. Everybody's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dead serious."
Yeah.
Like I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes anymore.
It's because Allen's going to be able to get them to the Chiefs, and then he's not going to be able to get them through the Chiefs.
You watch too many Bills games this season where the defense lets up 40, and Josh Allen just has to outscore them, and it's like that's not going to be sustainable in the playoffs where you're playing the best of the best every single week. So. I just see it ending, unfortunately for them, shorter than it probably should, but it is what it is. But that's jumping ahead a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the Saturday games. Chargers versus Patriots. Not a whole lot to say here. The Chargers lock up a playoff spot, which is something that like Chargers fans have been wanting to do since the last time they got completely embarrassed. Yeah, the Harbaugh, the culture setter came in, got the job done. They're not chargering anymore. They're not completely just like. They're not a dysfunctional organization at this point anymore. So it's very impressive what he's been able to do. I like Justin Herbert. I always have been a fan of his.
Me too.
And so I'm and with the roster the way it is, they should not be winning some of these games. Their offensive roster wise is bad.
Well, because when you looked at it over the offseason, you're like, ooh, no Allen or Eckler. Yikes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now they're winning more.
They don't have Keenan. They don't have Mike Williams anymore. They don't have any of those guys. And it's just how are they even going to move the ball? And then J.K. Dobbins comes in, has a resurgence. This year, just being healthy for the first time in 4 straight years, basically. So he's been a big part of that, obviously. And then he's just kind of makeshift the rest of the guys. Obviously, Lad McConkey's come on very strong at the end of the season. And he's going to be a mainstay for their offense for the rest of
he's
time.
He's got to stay around.
So, and they've got a great chemistry between the two of them, so that's really, really fun for them. Chargers get the win. Not a whole lot to say there. Bengals versus Broncos. This game was wild. Obviously, goes into overtime. I was telling you before the podcast, I essentially lost my fantasy championship because of the overtime period where T. Higgins just caught basically every ball and then scored a touchdown to win the game. Just murdered my fantasy championship chances right there. But really wild game. Obviously, both teams playing for the Broncos. If they win, they immediately get in the playoffs.
They control their destiny.
And then the Bengals were trying to win to continue their fight to try to get a chance to get in. And obviously, they do not control their destiny. They still have to win this game on Sunday.
Dolphins need to lose, and the
Broncos need to lose as well. Yes, so it doesn't look good statistically, especially we were saying the Chiefs are not going to play their starters. The Broncos will play. Yeah. It's gonna be tough sledding for the Bengals to get in, but
if they do though,
scary.
I was like, that's a team that can
nobody wants to play.
Ruin. You're that's a team where because once they're in, everything for them it's like, all right, we have sucked all season.
Yeah.
Now we got to prove to people we should be here
for sure.
And with their offensive firepower and Burrow, and they've all been there, you're like, ew.
Yeah. I think. They are.
You'd rather play the Broncos.
All those AFC teams are rooting for the Broncos and the Dolphins, especially the Dolphins. Yeah. The Dolphins somehow found a way in. They're golden ticket to the next round. Because the Dolphins stink straight up. I'm not rooting for them to win. No. I'm not rooting for them to get even close to the playoffs. So. Bengals, Broncos. Broncos are going to be feisty. They're going to be probably fun to watch play in their first playoff game, get Bo Nix some playoff experience. But outside of that, the Bengals are by far the best story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And their offense is the most explosive and the most fun to watch with Chase and Higgins, the way they've been doing things. And if
their defense just starts to play average, they'll win.
It's really that's the thing is they're already playing with house money. So if they get in, it's the offense just has to continue to be explosive, which it's going to be, and the defense can then at that point just be ultra aggressive to the point where we're going to give up points, but we're also going to get turnovers and maybe pick sixes and stuff of that nature. And
engage 8.
Exactly. Yeah, just send it. I mean, what's the point? Your defense already.
Oh yeah, because if they score fast, you're all right, Burrow, you're
now our offense is back on the field. Pressure's back on you in 5 minutes when we score an 80-yard touchdown with Jamar Chase. So
exactly.
Yeah. Crazy game, but yeah, Bengals get the job done. Broncos obviously now have to win.
But
this
they need a
upcoming
kicker.
That
York is terrible.
week. Yeah, DK York.
Yeah,
if he just makes a kick,
game over.
we're not talking about me losing in the fantasy championship.
Yeah, because McPherson, everyone was like, oh, they're kind of the same as the Chiefs. Like, they have a Butker-ish. And then York's awful.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. McPherson gets hurt. And McPherson wasn't great all season, but he started to get better, and then he got hurt.
He was just good. He was normally good at the clutch ones. He'd be like, all right, this is probably going to go in.
Yeah. Next game, Rams versus Cardinals. This one also did not help my fantasy championship chances because I was playing against Kyler and Trey McBride, and they decided in week 17 to build the entire offense on Trey McBride, and I was like, why wouldn't you have done that? The previous 16 weeks, considering how good he is and how well it worked against the Rams defense. Like, it blows my mind what teams they galaxy brain themselves into terrible offensive schemes, and it's like, what is going on here? But Rams win the game. I was not impressed with the way it looked.
No.
They both teams looked kind of like, I don't know. Cardinals were already kind of struggling. They were eliminated from the playoffs against the Panthers last week.
Yeah, that's a tough one
or 2
to
weeks
get
ago.
eliminated too.
Yeah,
as well.
In Carolina, it was cold that day, and they just get eliminated
Bryce
from the playoffs.
Young, like Tom Brady.
Yeah,
all right.
Tough scene.
Yeah,
but I was not impressed with the way the Rams were playing at all.
No.
Considering the fact that for me when watching it, maybe it was just my fantasy bias at the time, but it was just I had Cooper Kupp, of course.
Yeah.
So I was like, where's Cooper Kupp? Is he cooked, first of all? Is that the problem? Why are we not getting the ball to Cooper Kupp? Is it you don't trust him anymore? Is he not getting open anymore? I couldn't really tell based on the way they were running things if that was just the case or what was the case there. And then I was just thinking okay, if Cooper's not somebody you're not trusting anymore, I know this offense is running through Puka now.
Yeah.
And he was getting every touch. It seemed like if they dropped back, it's going to Puka. Everything was drawn up for him. And I was just thinking, where's the Kyron Williams coming out of the backfield, running back screens?
Three good offensive players. If you use all three of them, no one can focus on one.
Exactly. So I don't know, man. I was just I was sitting there watching it, thinking you're dying at the altar of Puka again, and your
maybe they had him in fantasy.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, they're it's the Cardinals.
PPR,
I don't know, but it was really weird. If that's the way the Rams are going to operate their offense moving forward, I think the Commanders go into LA and beat them.
Probably.
Straight up. If you had to ask me right now, I think the Commanders go into LA and beat them, especially the way it's looked, especially with how slow the Rams players are on defense. I think Jaden Daniels is going to run all over them. Those edges are just big. They're not fast guys. They're strong. So I think he can get out of the pocket and make it really tough on them to cover everybody.
Yeah, because when he gets out of the pocket, all the cornerbacks, their jobs are so much harder.
And they already don't have great corners. So and it proved in this past game against the Falcons that the Commanders are very good at the scramble drill. Olamide Zaccheaus, he was getting in and out of his breaks. Then he was he's out of the pocket. Let's go to this side. And he was getting open. Those guys know how to work a scramble drill because they've been practicing with Daniels all season long. So, Rams get a big win. Obviously, they win the NFC West. It's locked up. They're in the spot. Like I said, they're probably going to come up and beat the Commanders or play the Commanders in the first round of the playoffs, barring some weird other seeding things that happen in Week 18. But for the most part, it looks like Commanders are going to go to LA. But let's go on to the next game. This is the first game of Sunday. Eagles versus Cowboys. Eagles go into it. Jalen Hurts has concussion. He's not playing. You start Kenny Pickett.
Versus QB2.
Yeah. The backups are playing each other there. Cowboys coming off of a really weird win against the Buccaneers, which nobody. I didn't anticipate that. No. I was the Bucs are going to win the rest of the games on their schedule. They're going to easily win the NFC South. It is what it is. Lose to the Cowboys. Cowboys coming into Philly, probably feeling themselves a little bit. And then we mollywop them. With a second and a little bit of a third string quarterback, which personally, I think Tanner McKee is better than Kenny Pickett. Straight up, I watched way too much preseason football for that opinion to change. He was way better than Kenny Pickett throughout the preseason. And it seemed like it kind of translated because he threw 4 passes and 2 touchdowns, which he's got the highest.
That's insane.
He's got the highest quarterback rating of all time right this second because of it.
4 for 4.
He was literally he was I think it was 3 for 4 for 2 touchdowns or something like that. It's it's
158.6.
Yeah, literally. I don't know. It's crazy, but he played really well, but essentially the game was over once
Yeah.
CJ took that pick six back for a touchdown, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, the Eagles get a big win there. Obviously, lock up the NFC East, lock up the 2 seed. They can't move up or down, and so what are you looking at?
Wait, so if so they have 3 losses?
They
Eagles?
have yes.
And so why would they be above either the Vikings or the Lions?
Okay, so the line, so whoever wins on Sunday Night Football is going to be the 1 seed, and then whoever loses there, they can't possibly be higher than a 5 seed, because it doesn't matter record wise at the point, you're just a wild card team no matter what. Because it goes all of the divisions, and then it goes to the wild card teams, and that's going to be that's the craziest thing about the seeding. Oh yeah, because whoever loses on Sunday Night Football between the Lions and the Vikings has to go on the road as a 13 win team to somewhere like probably Tampa Bay. Yeah, like it's not going to be fun. Yeah, it's pretty wild how like a 13 win team is going to have to be a wild card team this season. But that's just the way. That's how good the NFC North has been all season.
True. So, it is funny because you have the Bucks who are like 8-6, 9-6,
something like that. Yeah,
and you're like, and they're in because they've won the
division.
And then the Lions are like, all right, really.
Yep. Like we got to go there.
We've lost twice,
and the Lions have already lost to the Bucks, which is like So if it's the Lions that have to go to Tampa, the Buccaneers are going to go in there confident, and it's like you don't want to go up against a confident Baker.
I was going to say Baker when he's on, you're like
not good for your team for sure. Let's move on. Buccaneers versus Panthers, since natural little segue there. The Panthers get rolled here. I mean, Bucks just put it on them. Baker's been crazy good. He's just been ripping it out there, just like. Doesn't care.
The Panthers' defense is so bad.
So bad.
They've had so many injuries. Yeah. And like I'll back them because I'm like a fan by association. Yeah. Like Bryce Young looks so much better. And like you just like that game. No part of me is like, oh, we're gonna win. It's like just look decent and no one like die.
Yeah,
like let's
get everybody to next season.
Let's get a good draft pick, get some like receivers and cornerbacks, and restart.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean this is like the best thing that could have happened to Bryce Young for sure. Was just like this kind of resurgence, and then they're not even. I don't think they're even thinking about.
No, they don't have to look at a quarterback anymore,
which is huge. So they can just continue to build this foundation around him in general. And I really think that like. The better the weapons you get around them, the better it's going to look going forward, especially offensive line wise, like wide receivers wise.
Chuba's pretty good.
Yeah, he showed out this year. Like that was impressive. He got paid, obviously. That was a huge deal. So I think they've kind of found their pieces for a while. The Jonathan Brooks thing kind of stinks, where he's going to have to be out for another season for sure. Ideal. But oh well. Bucks get a huge win there. Essentially, I don't see them losing to the Saints. No. They're like 13.5-point favorites right now. There's a chance I think Derek Carr might play in this game, but I don't think he probably will. But
the Saints
makes it a little bit more iffy there. But
they had the greatest 2-game stretch in the history of the.
Yeah, they look like juggernauts.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, the Saints are so back, and then the coach got fired like 4 weeks later.
Yeah, that's so crazy to start out 2-0 and then it's like basically lose every game since. It's almost unprecedented how bad that's been. But Buccaneers get the big win. Like I said, I don't think they lose the Saints, and so the Falcons unfortunately don't make the playoffs. They're not going to get a wild card because of teams like the Vikings or the Lions. Whoever ends up in the wild card there, like those, it's just going to all the little steps there are going to keep going down, so the Falcons just won't get in. And that's just my opinion. I don't think I think the Falcons probably beat the Panthers on Sunday. Yeah, but like. I think the line's like 8 right now, and I kind of would bet Panthers plus 8. Like, I think it's probably close.
Oh, and Adam Thielen, for some reasons,
balling.
Yeah, you're like, wow.
Like, you know what's funny? I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about like why do you think this like Adam Thielen, the kind of resurgence happened this year? And somebody was like, because he had an IR stint, so like his legs were rested. Yeah, like so he had like a first half of the season and then like a second half, and so he had like a little break. He had like a huge bye week essentially, and he was able to like rest up a little bit.
That's funny.
But I was like, that makes sense because he is old. But he's been balling. He's like, I think that's like one of the better things that the Panthers could go into like mindset wise when it comes to the draft picks or free agency when they're looking at somebody to bring towards Bryce is like, let's get ourselves a younger version of a Adam Thielen route runner guy that they're going to have incredible chemistry. He's going to know where he's going to be all the time. Like, I would knock on the door of the New York Jets and be like, hey, what do you want for Garrett Wilson? Yeah, that's what I would do if I was a Panthers.
For sure.
So that would be pretty cool. Yeah. Let's go to the next game, Bills versus Jets. This one, they mollywop the Jets here.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen goes crazy. I just not a whole lot to say. Their Jets are
terrible.
They're a disaster.
Aaron Rodgers, it's just not what you thought it would be.
No. And it probably should have seen this coming. When it comes to the Achilles for a 40-year-old, and an Achilles for anybody, it's usually the year after that they're kind of back to normal, and it's a 40-year-old just the year after. Probably not a good look anyways, but also all the antics with him and the team and him yelling at people after he makes mistakes. It just the look is just bad right now. The vibes are way off.
Yeah, it's not. And everyone thought him and Devontae Adams was problem solved.
They had their moments, but for the most part, for fantasy purposes, for a while there, they were playing pretty good together, but didn't translate.
The meme of getting the Jets getting Aaron Rodgers is you getting with your high school crush when she's 45 and has 4 kids.
Yep.
You're all right,
that's exactly
it's just
right.
not what you think it's gonna be.
No,
not the same.
All the luster has died.
It's gone.
Yeah,
it's gone
for sure. All right, Vikings versus Packers. This was a pretty good game. Vikings, for the most part, though, controlled it. They were up pretty big early on, and the Packers made a little bit of a comeback. But for the most part, I didn't feel like the Vikings were ever going to lose the game. I felt like they were really control. I was talking to you before the pod about just how impressive it was that Sam Darnold. They were essentially trying to take away Justin Jefferson the entire game. They were basically double teaming him, and it didn't matter. Sam was really getting the ball out to all his other playmakers. Jalen Naylor was making plays. Jordan Addison was making plays. T.J. Hawkinson was getting open over the middle, and then Aaron Jones was getting his touches. And so the offense is formidable when Sam Darnold makes great decisions like that.
Yeah. The Vikings are I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong. I thought they were going to be so bad. I was 6-0 fluke.
Yeah,
but I'm staying on the doubting train. I think they lose their first playoff game, whether it be the wild card or whether it be the divisional. I don't think they win.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see Sam Darnold when the pressure's really on. You got probably a good defense you're going up against, probably a decent offense. I mean, the matchup, whoever it may end up being, it's one of the better teams in all of football. If you make the playoffs, it kind of is what it is. So it's going to be very interesting going forward. Next game, Commanders versus Falcons, the Sunday night football game. This was a fun one. Goes to overtime. Michael Penix Jr. has a game-winning drive, essentially, or not game-tying drive to get down there on 4th and 10 after a crazy botched snap that goes over Bijan Robinson's head. They go back to it's 1st and goal from the 26. It's such a terrible situation that they got put in. Or I think it ended up being 2nd and goal when that happened. But either way. Goes to overtime, then Jaden Daniels, they get the coin toss, goes straight down the field, and just wins the game. Zach Ertz touchdown.
Daniels is looking really mature. Early he was making plays, but you're there's some rookie issues in there. And
he's still throwing some picks here and there, some rookie picks, which are going to happen, but he has been crazy impressive.
Yeah, he's consistent. He's I don't think he's the game changer of a Josh Allen, but I feel if he doesn't stoop as low as a bad game for one of those guys would be. He gets you his at least 2 touchdowns, even if he throws a pick or two.
Yeah. And that's the thing with him that I think is impressive. Even though he will make his rookie mistakes, he's he doesn't harp on them.
No,
he doesn't. He's not worried about it, and he's just he's next play. He's a good cornerback that forgets he gets burned.
Yeah,
he's good when it comes to that. He stays very level headed.
Oh, their team is good enough to where it's not he's a Bryce Young on the Panthers. Where it's have to be the reason we win.
Yeah, it's all on him. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think they're going to be a problem in the playoffs for sure. They're just his running ability is just such a wild card.
They're just they're like the Joker. You're I don't know. Are they going to show up and you could beat the brakes off of them, or they could just win? And you're man,
for sure. I mean, because their defense has been playing pretty good ball as of late. You said they got decent weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and they have really good chemistry right now with Jaden Daniels, all their guys. So they're not going to be an easy out in the playoffs. Next game, Lions versus 49ers, Monday Night Football game. This one was a little bit more testy than I was anticipating, and this was one of my best bets of the week that I put on TikTok, and I said Lions minus 3.5, and a lot of people were on there were commenting are you sure? It seems like the Lions aren't going to play their starters. This game doesn't mean anything. Only the week 18th, and I was dude, have y'all not watched a single interview with Dan Campbell? That dude is not sitting any of his starters. He is balls to the wall, no matter what. He is full, just pedal to the metal. He does not care. Like, he's going to play his starters, and they're going to try to win the game.
Yeah, he's like, why would we sit? What's the goal of us sitting?
Exactly. He's like, he set a precedent that, like, we try and we, like, full-blown effort no matter what the circumstance is. Like, that's just the way he coaches, and I was just like, I think the Lions will win this game. And I mean, obviously they covered the 3.5, and I was like, I felt vindicated in that just because I was like, this is like what we've learned about Dan Campbell at this point. Like, you just don't bet against him whenever there's any kind of doubt. So
yeah, he says hit me on 17 in blackjack.
You're like, are you? Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, are you sure? Pulls a Ford. You're like, all right.
Well, that worked out.
This was the first Lions game that I watched. Like, I've seen all the highlights, but I've never. Yeah. And it was 6-14, and there was 3rd and 12, and I was like, wow, they got like the 49ers or hook and ladder touchdown. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's like pulling out all the stops.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. He's they've just been an impressive squad for sure, and just the hook and ladder stuff, like they've got down to a science to the point where like it's clear that they practice it to the point where like it is perfect, and like they're not even worried about fumbling one of those exchanges at this point. Obviously, because that would be a huge play, but like they've got it down pat. So
their defense is just not. Once Hutchison went down, it was like...
And then Aleem McNeil, Carlton Davis went down. You had just a lot of good players went down. And so that defense is very susceptible at this point, so that's unfortunate. Let's go to the Sunday Night Football preview for Week 18, Vikings versus Lions. You got any thoughts on this one?
I think the Lions win. I think Sam Darnold... I don't even care where the game is. I just don't see... Dan Campbell losing this game. He plays too ballsy for them to like I just don't see it happening. Yeah. And I don't think they let Chase or Jefferson win the game either.
I understand that perspective. Unfortunately, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think I got Vikings plus 2.5 in this one. I just think the defense is susceptible. I think with the way Sam Darnold played against the Packers defense, I think that they can score enough points to win this game against the Lions, get the 1 seed to win the division, send the Lions to Tampa Bay for the wild card round. They have to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again. Kind of scary for them, I'm not gonna lie, but it's gonna be it's gonna be like the game of the year, honestly. Like
for the 1 suited up for pretty good
for all the marbles essentially. So it's gonna be really really fun. But
I think the rest of the NFL teams in the playoffs are pulling for the Vikings because I think a lot of people want the Lions gone really quick.
I don't doubt that. I think it's going to be a little bit, not a lot easier, but a little bit easier to go to Minnesota than it is to go to Detroit. So I can see where a lot of people think that.
Detroit's it's like, it's kind of funny because you're, like, you could play a perfect defensive hole and a 4th and 6 and they're on their 40 and you're like, why is their offense out here? Then
that is the scariest part of their offense.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, why are they doing it? And then they get it, and then you're like, well,
it's demoralizing.
Yeah. Like,
correct.
It's just terrible.
Because that is the scariest part of their offense.
That's what happened to the 49ers. Was what's that hook and ladder? Like, everyone was like, oh.
Yeah, like,
all
bets are off.
them on the ropes. Now they're down 1. Like,
now they're going to come back.
Yeah, different game.
Yeah, because I feel like those plays really get them going, like, emotionally and physically. And so when they hit on those things, it's a different ballgame. They get so much momentum, just like so much confidence in themselves after stuff like that, and it's just it's hard to compete.
You said it like Amon-Ra has probably pitched that pitch 1,000 times in practice. He knows exactly what
angle to throw it.
Yeah. And it's like that is not something where you're like, no way. You're like, wow, they did it again.
Yep.
Like the double passes to Laporta. You're like, God.
No.
Like, when does it end? Like, how deep is the play? The fake trip, that was crazy to me.
That was insane.
I was like, are we kidding me?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I thought it was dumb for them to show that in an almost meaningless game where they were beating the crap out of the team. I don't know. Yeah. Weird, but that's their prerogative. Maybe they got, like, 8 more of those up their sleeve.
Well, but you're like, how do you think of that? Like, all right, Gibbs, pretend to fall over.
Yeah.
And you're like, just do it.
Yeah, everybody yell fumble. Yeah. like crazy. Like they're literally like actors out there. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy for sure. But yeah, it's going to be an incredible game Sunday Night Football.
Yeah,
can't wait for
exciting.
it. Best game of the year so far, just with all the stakes on the line, the 1 seed, the division, sending somebody to the wild card essentially. So it'll be really fun. But that pretty much wraps it up for this week's episode. I appreciate everybody tuning in.
Do you have a Super Bowl prediction of the 2 teams and the winner?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's Eagles-Chiefs again. Eagles win this time.
Wow.
Yep. That's like, I feel like nobody's saying that right now.
Yeah.
That exact like combo. I feel like everybody likes the Bills on the AFC side.
No way.
And I feel like everybody likes the who do you think everybody likes on the AFC side?
I just don't. I don't know. I feel like most people know. Most people try and root for the Bills, but everyone knows what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, but like nobody wants to admit it yet. Like everybody's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Josh Allen MVP," like which I agree.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you have any
fantastic.
MVP thoughts? Like who you think should win it?
I would give it to Allen. I
too.
am not a Lamar Jackson fan. Granted, it's probably because I had Derrick Henry in fantasy, but I'm like, he just wants his stats so bad.
Yeah, I feel that there might be times where like they
Yeah.
try a little hard to get it going
Stat
for
padded a little bit.
them. Yeah,
But
I understand.
My Super Bowl, I'm gonna just say it. Bengals Lions. Bengals win.
That would be insane.
I genuinely think
bonkers.
if the Bengals get in, they're going. I think they could beat Mahomes.
Their defense is such Swiss cheese. You got Bo Nix throwing like Hail
Yeah.
Mary touchdowns
Yeah.
to like get them to. I just like if that's happening with Bo Nix, like what is like
That's true.
what is Josh Allen going
I'm
to do to that
sticking by it.
defense?
Put it on FanDuel. Put the mortgage on it.
Look, that you would win a lot of money if that's the case. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean honestly, like it sounds super biased that I think the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, there's something about this team where it's just for my money, they're the most complete team. Like you got outside of maybe the Chiefs. I mean, because you got all right. So on the AFC side, you got the Bills. Their defense kind of stinks,
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah, I'll agree
they don't
with
have
that.
great weapons. It's essentially the Josh Allen show.
Yeah.
Chiefs. It's the Pat Mahomes show. Their weapons aren't great either, but they're
Yeah,
coming around
but
right
no one's
now.
been able to stop the Patrick Mahomes show.
Oh, I know. And the defense isn't as good as it was last year or even the year before, but it still makes play. They're opportunistic.
But they're also the best coached defense.
I agree with that for sure.
That guy knows what he's doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, you can't bet against Spagnuolo for the most part. But like the Eagles' offense, you got the run game. You got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard.
I just think if
The
he can
defense is the number one defense in all of football.
stop
Like,
the Eagles' run game, I don't really see.
well, that's what the Steelers did, and then we cooked them.
But the Steelers are terrible. They
Well, their
can't
defense
score.
is good.
They can't score.
True.
So like if you stop the run game, and then like the Eagles will score their points, but if you stop the run game and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is having to beat people by his arm, they're cooked. I'm gonna just say it, they're cooked.
I disagree because I watched him live and go against Pat Mahomes and outduel him in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they lost.
They did lose, but that's just like because Pat Mahomes got the ball last.
Well, yeah, so that's not outdueling. That's just poor game management. If you allow Mahomes to get
It was also the holding penalty.
yeah, but if you allow Mahomes to get the ball last, you don't manage the game at all. You just have to sit and watch.
I think our defensive coordinator screwed us because he just let Pat Mahomes trickle down the field.
Well, yeah, everyone plays
It'd be
like
aggressive.
cover 4, and then you give them 15 yards, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
They,
yeah. I thought it was really bad defensive management by them, but that's for another podcast, another debate.
who
but,
knows?
yeah, but appreciate everybody listening. Everybody tune in to the TikTok, subscribe on YouTube, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
See ya.